Hey everyone, welcome back to another Project Feline live stream with your host, Project Feline, doing more, we're doing more Project Felining. That's right, that is now a verb. Project Felining, Oxford Dictionary, is a verb that is to work on Project Feline. That's what that means. And that's what we'll be doing today. So, before we begin, got some exciting news. Very, very cool, exciting news. And that is that on my Patreon, I have a new season of designs out right now, which is pretty cool. So I should have picked like a different color because this is like black hoodie on black background. Not a great combo, but you get the idea. This is the new design we got going. We got it in hoodies, mugs, shirts, and stickers. So with Patreon, same as YouTube membership, except the patrons get merch because Patreon actually lets me release merch where YouTube doesn't have that feature. So with the tiers on Patreon, if you feel so inclined, don't have to, but if you want to get these designs, this is the way how. So there's a few different tiers. First one is like Discord access, same as the YouTube membership, but the other ones after that all have merch with them that you'll get after like a certain amount of months of membership. So I had a lot of fun designing these. I'm still waiting for my samples to arrive actually, because I usually like to keep a few for myself. But when I get it, I'm going to be drinking out of it like every stream. So I'll have a mug like this. At the moment, I've got one of the old mugs with me though. But yeah, it's this really cool like Japanese inspired design. There's been a lot of arguments on whether the Japanese text is correct, and it is. Okay, I checked, I verified. It's just, yeah. The American weeaboos though will argue, but I've talked with native speakers and they can verify that this is a correct way to spell Gabby's name. So anyway, if you're down for that, check out the Patreon. Let's jump into it now. Also, I've added Gabby Trivia back from Twitch to the YouTube stream. I figured out a way we can do it, because on Twitch there used to be channel points and YouTube doesn't really have that. But YouTube does have super chatting. So I've now made it up in the corner somewhere. I've got a little prompt where if you want to do Gabby Trivia, just like as we used to do on Twitch, and for those who don't know what Gabby Trivia is, if you activate Gabby Trivia, I will call Gabby. I call her, I stop what I'm doing, I put everything down, and I call Gabby, and you get to ask her a question, and I relay it to her, she answers, and I relay the answer back. See, she's very shy on camera, so she doesn't talk, but she'll talk to me, and then I'll talk to you. That's how that works. So if you're excited for that, leave a super chat for Gabby Trivia, and we'll see what else we could learn about Gabby. I think someone left a really interesting question last time about her childhood. That was really cool. You might be able to dig back through the old VODs and find that one. But anyway, with that out of the way, I've made some progress on my mission system that I want to show you guys. There's still some bugs. I'm gonna just focus on like fixing one bug today for the stream, because I've got like maybe an hour and a bit. So you'll notice, hold on, can I restart that? You'll notice something. I've just got a little test thing going on at the moment. So here's my little test area where a mission will activate if I walk into this volume. You'll notice that there is a stopwatch on the screen in the middle, and then it counts from 3 seconds and then it disappears. So here's sort of where everything I've been trying to explain for the last 6 months or whatever is finally starting to kind of coalesce. I know it doesn't look sensible or make any sense yet, but what I've just shown you is a very efficient way to have a countdown sequence without having to write new code because of how I designed all of this stuff. So anyway, I'll explain why that was there in a moment. But if we continue to play the mission, you'll notice that the metrics on screen update. When I kill enemies, the score increments. It doesn't work on all enemies though yet, and that's something we'll have to get to. But you'll notice as well that if I touch all of those cogs, it'll actually open one of the doors. Now you might say, Ray, you've got 2 doors here. Why isn't it open both of the doors? And that's one of the many questions we will try and figure out today. But so the idea is, let me show you that whole sequence, because it looks simple, but the code behind it is very scalable, and it has ramifications that will ripple throughout the project in ways you can't imagine yet. But what this is like the exciting thing I've been trying to like communicate for so long. And that's how, like, to make these interactable systems, and you can do a lot with these things. I know I haven't done much in this little demonstration, but it's okay. So I'll break down quickly because there's still some bugs that I have to sort out. But essentially, these cogs, okay, these are special. A few reasons why. If we go and look at how they're made up, some of you might know this, some of you might not, but we have what I have called my metric components. And a metric is just a thing that keeps track of something. They all have things in common. They keep track of different things. For example, I'll go to the mission. If we go to the mission itself, because this isn't using the game mode system, because the game mode system is a little not what I want, but I'm doing my own kind of thing with it. So this game mode, this will have some of the stuff we saw in that mission. Like, it has that countdown sequence. It has a score. It keeps track of your cogs. It keeps track of your elapsed time. And then this component, it just has mission events in it that trigger. It makes it a mission. Now, depending on the mission, like, you can make like another mission type that has a different combination of components. One thing I want to make, once this is all working, one thing I'm really excited to do on stream, and I'm hoping this happens soon, is I was talking to my level designer about some of this stuff, and I was like just sort of ranting to him about how hard this has all been to get working. And when I explained to him the scope of what I was doing, he said, oh, you know what you could do? You could easily make a mission mode where it's like the floor is lava, using the same level design as without having to design a whole new level. Like, we take the level that he's been doing, which I'll get to show at some point later, because he's done an amazing job with the level he's working on. But we were like finishing up the level, and he was like, oh, if you got that working, we could make like 2 missions out of this one area. One of them is like the normal one, and another one I could write a component that just keeps track. It's like an integer counter, like all of these ones, except it's triggered by when the character lands. And it might be some kind of thing where you can only land on the floor 5 times. And if you make it in less than 5, like if you only touch the floor once, you get like an S rank or something. Like, really exciting, cool stuff like that, because I know that's going to be awesome. But to make it, you can make a one-off component and try it, but it won't be very scalable, and it might get kind of weird and buggy, right? But if I'm using this framework, these already have heaps of things in common and have very powerful functionality. For example, let's say we had a component that did that, where it keeps track of, you know, whether Gabby lands on the floor, how many times he's jumped or whatever. We can have it so that at a checkpoint, it can save the value, or not save the value. We can actually decide whether it wants to save or not. We can load it. We can turn it off and on. So maybe for a certain section, you want to turn off that component. All of that stuff is like, that's what this whole system has been trying to be about. But, you know, each of these will do something different, but they all have things in common. And I finally got in the inheritance to work properly, which I had a lot of issues with. But now it's like mostly working. There's just a few little bugs that are still hanging around that I want to try and sort. But because it's all inherited, because all of these things will have the same bugs, but if I fix it at the parent, it'll solve them for all of them. So thankfully, I kind of actually tried again to do inheritance, because I was going to give up on that because it was just breaking. But I'm actually glad I didn't give up on it and like persisted, even though it took like ages. Because now it's like later fixing these is going to be a lot easier. So I guess that's what you call like tech debt, I suppose, where it's like the quicker and more hastily you put something together, it means later you're going to have to pay the debt on that, and you'll get more bugs because you didn't build it right. So I've kind of taken a very extreme attitude on this particular feature, where I'm like trying so hard to avoid any tech debt in the future, because I really don't want to come back to these like in another 6 months. So that's why these have been taking so long, because it's like once I get these done, they're done. I don't have to like do anything else to them afterwards. So that's why I'm making sure that they will work wherever they need to. And try not to leave any bugs behind now. And it means it's a big upfront time investment now, but it's going to pay off. It's starting to pay off now, and it's going to pay off a lot when we actually get to making more mission content. But anyway, so with these, I'll explain like this specific mission, because I'm just talking hypotheticals up till this point. But for this mission, these cogs have a few components on them that interact with the mission that's active. The first thing it has is a score binder. And this component is not a metric, but it is used to find metrics. So this one will look at the current mission that is loaded and find the score component, the score metric, and say, hey, does the current mission have score? Does it keep track of score? If it does, then what we want to do is add like 10 points to the score component. Now, the reason why these are arrays is because there might be an instance where you might have a mission with like multiple components on it. Because remember, these can be used on anything, not just missions. So these are all inheriting to use like arrays, because let's say you were casting to something that had more than one metric on it. You could like give each metric with a corresponding index a different value. So the other thing this cog has is a collectible count binder, and that increments the little cog counter on screen. So that increments it by 1. But there's more. There's this one that isn't actually... This is actually an instance... This is not on the actual blueprint. This is on this specific instance of the cog. Because in this situation, specifically, these cogs will open this gate in this level. I don't need this component on the cogs in the rest of the game. This only needs to be here for these cogs in this specific situation. And I only learned recently that you can actually add actor components to instances, which is really cool because it lets me do this. Because I've got a binder on this called gate. I've renamed it to gate binder, but it's the exact same component as this and this in the actual code. The code is the exact same. It's just a different instance of it with different parameters. This one keeps track of an int, but it just keeps track of a different int. So in this one, I can actually tell it which actors to that with metrics on them to modify, and I can give them a value of 1. So when you collect one of these cogs, it looks at gate 1 and gate 2, and then it goes, okay, we're going to add 1 to the int counter on those. And if you actually go and look at these gates, they will have an int counter on them right here called int counter. And this will trigger an event, because I have something in here, I think. If I scroll down, here we go. Starting value 0, max value 10. So there's 10 cogs, and each of them is bound to this gate, and it increments the gate by 1 when it's collected. When that counter gets to 10, it triggers an event, which will open the gate. So that is a very simple example of what this can do. But it kind of does a lot. You can kind of use it as an interaction system, and you can use it for a lot of things. It just means that like there's like a lot of bugs that were popping up, and I've luckily managed to fix the majority of them, which is very nice. So, you know, you could use these on different things as well. Like the mission has a time, like a watch on it that keeps track of your time. And you can configure that watch to also act as a timer as well. So if I was to go, I might have, for those that have like come back from a few streams ago, you might already know this, but I'm just sort of gonna quickly cover it for those joining. So if you go to the mission component, you'll see it has watch. And if I scroll down, it's got all the UI stuff on it, because you can actually customize the UI for each one as well if you want one to use a different icon, but it has default parameters it uses. But I can go to, there's a certain bit here. I just got to find where it is. I know it's in here somewhere. It's a certain variable. Here we go. So this, I need to get rid of this one. This is obsolete. It's been replaced with this called count speed. And if I wanted to make this a countdown timer, I just set the watch to be -1, and so it'll count backwards. And I set a starting value of like 10 seconds. And then I go up and there should be a tick box called complete on minimum. So that means if it reaches the minimum value, which is 0 in this case, it'll trigger an event. So like if I go complete on min value, it'll trigger an event. If I hit play, I think I might have to that's the only issue is that if you make any changes to it, you have to go to the metric component and compile it, and then it'll work. So I've tried doing a test build and it has worked. So I don't think it should be too bad, hopefully. And it looks like, that didn't work. Here we go. We're getting the bugs. Okay, so that starting value didn't set for some reason. That's interesting. Oh, it's because, oh no, okay, I don't know why that's happened. Yeah, so sometimes you'll see little quirks like this come up, and these are the things I'm trying to fix now. So what I might do, just for example, I might skip that countdown because that could be causing some problems. Because I added that like last minute. I'm not sure if it actually works properly yet. I haven't tested it with everything. So I might disable this component, and there should be a little thing in here. I'll turn off auto assign mission, and I will set the mission to auto start so that it doesn't do the countdown. All right, let's try that now. So if I hit play, it should... Oh, come on. All right. Okay, we found another bug. So what's supposed to happen is when I did that to the watch, it was supposed to start from a certain value, but it isn't doing that for some reason. I wonder why. It's just instantly going game over. So that's curious. Count speed, -1. Starting value 10. Maybe we'll go max value. Let's give it a max value, maybe. Oh, okay, that's weird. Maybe I'll unplug that. Okay, that was not happening yesterday. So yeah, this is like why it's like, oh right, this sounds so simple. You could do this in like a day or whatever, and it's like, this is why. It's because every time I try and show it off, something else breaks. And it's like, god damn it, I just get a break. Have I ever used other game engines? Yes. I've used Unity before for like 8 to 10 years. I can't remember the exact number now. But yeah, it was like way back in like 2010, I think, is when I started using Unity, and then I switched to Unreal in like 2018. But I still had to teach Unity for another couple years. Okay, what's going on? What's going on here? Watch. Oh, wait a minute. If I go to the countdown, maybe there's an instance thing that hasn't... Okay, no, that's... Auto load mission is enabled, so it should load everything in. I'll set the count direction to 1. Okay. So it's just the starting value isn't working. Ah, I knew there was something... There was some issue I was fixing with that the other day, and I might have broken something else as a result. So starting value is not working. I actually didn't think to test that yet. But no, it does work on the other one. So I don't know what... Yeah, hold on. Because the countdown component is also a watch, and that does have a starting value, and it works. So I don't know what's going on there exactly. Yeah, like, hold on. I'll turn it back on. I'll change it back to what it was. And yeah, it does work, but it also kind of doesn't sometimes for some reason. I don't know how much I have to undo. Okay, I think that's just me clicking on stuff, because it actually keeps track of that for some reason. Okay, so if I compile that now, it might actually work. Okay, yeah, see that watch in the middle, that counts downwards. That works. I don't know why the one on the side doesn't do that, because it's the exact same component. All right, well, that's really funny. But it does work, okay? Trust me. The other component worked. There's probably just some weird specific reason why the other one isn't, and I'm not sure why. But I know that there's some reason. There's got to be some logical reason why. It might be some flag that it's not setting. Oh, what's this? Load value on activate. That actually, yeah, I didn't think, because I've added all of these new variables. That could be why. So I'll tick, oh yeah, because these are new. Okay, I know why. So I have to have these two ticked on. And I need, oh, do I need that ticked on? Not sure, actually. I might leave that off, but I might have this on. I know I shouldn't need to have that on, but we'll try it. And if I set the count speed to -1 and a start value of 10, I'll leave the other watch turned on, just for example. It's only 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, now it starts counting down. See, okay, that does work. I just had to have a specific thing turned on for some reason. But if it reaches 0, okay, there's another boolean I have to turn on in the mission. And I think that boolean is called auto end mission on watch end. So if I tick that on, because yeah, what you can then do, you just change a few booleans, And then you've got a mission with a time limit now. So if I let that get to 0, it should say mission game over or something. So if I let it run out... Okay, why did that not work? See, okay, it was working yesterday, guys. It always does this. This is why I, like, hate myself right now. But I know that once this is fixed, I won't have to do it again. So that's what keeps me going. But I really hate it. I really don't like it. Because I had a list of bugs I was going to work on instead, but I've just realized by trying to demonstrate it that I found more. So that always happens, every time. But I know that there's going to be a point where I fix them all, and that is going to have to be soon. But I have optimism that when I reach that point, then it's over, don't have to worry about it. It's just we're not there yet, and it's just kind of annoying, but that's just how it is. So I'm going to, like, ignore that one for the moment, because that I'm gonna have to like delve into, because I made a bunch of changes to all this stuff, and it might be as a result. It was like 3 days ago I made like this massive change to the parent class, which might be messing with all this stuff. So I'm just gonna focus on the bugs I was initially planning to fix for the moment, because if I go looking for more bugs, we're gonna be here for like 5 hours. So, okay, it's back to how I had it set up. Let's focus on my actual agenda today. So, there's 2 other problems that I really want to fix. I'll get to the other ones later. But one of these issues, I might start with this one. This one might be easier. And that is that, you remember how earlier I was showing that the cogs, you can bind them to the gate and it'll have it open the gate, right? Now there's 2 gates. It's supposed to open both of them, but it only opens one of them. We're gonna try and delve into why that is, because there's a very weird reason why that's happening. And it's a bug that extends far beyond just the gate. But if I collect all of those cogs, it's supposed to open both of them. And the reason it isn't is because the counter that is on these gates is only active on one of these gates. The other one is like disabled. It doesn't realize that it's supposed to be keeping track of things, because these metrics have states. And I'll try and demonstrate very quickly what those states are. So if I was to go and die right now, for instance, I want you to pay close attention to the stopwatch in the corner. I want you to watch what happens when I take damage and like take fatal damage. You see how it pauses and then it turns back on when I respawn? So that what happened there is that the metric turned off, and then when I respawned, it turned back on. Now that issue is exactly what's happening with that second gate, is that the metric on it hasn't been enabled. And you might say, well, Ray, can't you just have a thing where it like turns itself on by default? Yes, and that actually is the case for this first gate. But I wanted to use the second gate to test something else, because these metric components are kind of interrelated with just being on their own thing, and they're also related to the mission that's currently active. And they can respond to mission events. And this is where the bugs start, some of the bugs start occurring, because this first gate is configured that when the level loads, it just turns on that metric and goes, okay, we're going to keep track of this integer, and that's going to increment whenever we collect a cog, or a specific cog, I guess. However, this other one is set to enable itself when the mission enables itself. So that means if I was to have that gate loaded persistently in the world, and the mission wasn't active, then it wouldn't open unless the mission was active. Because there might be instances where I want that, where it's like certain things will only keep track of things when the mission is turned on. Now, that is actually what happens to some of these other metrics. Like, for instance, the score, the collectible count and everything, and the watch, those all actually behave properly, where they only update when the mission is active. So if I paused the mission or whatever, or if I'm doing that, if it's during like this timeline sequence, like there's another bug which I'll get to later, and that's if you hit respawn during the countdown sequence, you can move. And you'll notice that the collectible count actually doesn't update while that little countdown is going. It isn't until after that finishes that the mission is set to enabled, and then those things update. So the issue is, with this gate, is that it doesn't know what it can't find the mission and bind itself to events in the mission. Because what's supposed to happen is when the mission starts, it's supposed to trigger an event on the gate. The gate's supposed to listen for that event. and go, oh, okay, the mission started. Let's start tracking integers now. But it doesn't do that. It can't find the mission. And this is actually a problem, not just for the gate, but this is going to be a problem for most of these objects, like the enemies, for example. Let's say I only want them to increment score when the mission's active. We're going to have the same problem there. I'm actually not sure why it works on these, because by all accounts it shouldn't. But on these enemies, it actually can find the mission, because there's a little tick box here. So you have a choice with these metrics. So this is the score binder. This is supposed to look out for the score. And there's a tick box called include active mission, and then there's an array. Now this array, you can put any object in here and it'll check, oh, does this object have a score metric on it? Most of them probably won't, but because this is inherited from the integer tracker, you know, you can use this in other instances, like for that collectible, that has the gate bound in these slots and tells those to update. But this tick box, what that'll do is, it's supposed to automatically get the mission that's currently active and add it to this list of arrays. Except it doesn't work sometimes. It seems to work for the enemies, and I'm actually not sure why it works for the enemies. I honestly couldn't say. But if I was to untick this, then the enemy wouldn't contribute to the score. And I think for this integer counter, this, I'm not sure if this is actually meant to be here or not, but whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so with this gate, I have it set, I purposely set it to not include, I think, no. So what I did for the first, because you might say, well, Ray, why does the first gate work? And that is because that one is designed to just turn on when the level starts, whereas the second gate is when the mission starts. So if I go to, if I scroll back down here, you'll see, it's got auto assign mission enabled, but it doesn't work. So we're going to try and focus on just that for this stream, because that's one less bug I'll have to worry about if I can get that to work. So yeah, we'll see how we go, because that's at least, like, there's still going to be a lot. I'm going to try work on them best I can, but I only got time to fix one bug for this stream. How does version control work for blueprints? I don't know, it just kind of does. I guess it depends on the version control you're using. You can't do, like, diff checking if you're using, like, Git, if that's what you're asking. Like, you can't go in and select specific bits of the graph and go, oh, I want this bit and not that. Like, you can't do that with Git, but you can you can read those changes with things like plastic or something like that. But there might be, I don't know, there might be other ways to do it. I'm not too familiar. I just kind of, like, did some research on what I needed to do to get, like, source control, and then I didn't really think about it after that. But yeah. Hold on, I saw some question. Oh, hey, Tim. Yes, I am streaming at a time that works for you now. Hooray. yeah. Epic. I use Perforce. I've heard of Perforce, but I've never used it personally. But I'm sure it's pretty good from what I've heard. Okay, so for this bug I'm trying to fix, we're gonna need to go to the metric component, I think. Let me just search through. Okay, so we gotta look at this Boolean. So we're gonna find references to it. This is where it's supposed to get the, this is where it's meant to find the mission. And you'll notice, so there's a few things going on, because you'll notice that auto assign mission is enabled for some of these metrics, and it does work for, like, certain ones. So if we go to, like, the act component, which is like the mission, and if we go to the watch, if we scroll down, there'll be a tick box says auto assignment. So that is enabled here and it works here. Now there's a specific reason why it only works there. It doesn't work on the gate. And that is because of this contingency, because it'll first check if we go auto assign mission, it actually checks if the object it is attached to, the component is attached to, is the mission first. And in this case, with the watch and stuff, it is, because it's actually on the same blueprint that has the mission logic on it. So it actually will set the mission component to its owner and go, oh, cool. You know, that's epic. But if it isn't attached to the actual mission, it tries to find it from the game mode. And the game mode is my own little blueprint I wrote. Just keeps track of a few basic things. But it's supposed to have a variable in it called get current mission, which is supposed to keep track of which mission is active. Except it seems like it's here where things are going wrong. So I'm going to have to like delve into the Feline game mode base and see if it is actually assigning this variable correctly, because I don't think it is. And we can try and verify this with like a print string maybe, just to like test it out. Because I guarantee you it's going to return empty for that gate. Because what's supposed to happen is when the mission starts, there should be a print string right now, but that didn't happen. Because or actually when the on begin play, that's actually supposed to happen, but it isn't. Oh, wait a minute. I think I might have just realized why this is going on. Oh my god. I think... Okay, I think I might understand why it isn't finding the mission. That's because on the first frame, there is no mission assigned. It isn't until the next frame. And actually, when the mission changes, this won't work because it only checks it on begin play. It doesn't... Okay, I think I actually might know how to solve this. Okay, oh my god, I don't want to jinx it, but I think I might know how to solve this problem. Because this can't happen on begin play. This has to happen at some point later. So maybe there might be an event dispatcher for this that I might have already written. Here we go, on set active mission. I did write an event dispatcher for this. Excellent. So on my game mode, there is an event dispatcher that's supposed to trigger when the mission is assigned. And it's supposed to pass through the current mission. So we should use this instead, I think. So I'll copy this down here. And, oh, come on, can I not plug that in? Ah. Cast to mission. Oh, no. Oh, okay, we gotta do this. We gotta do this. Oh, wait a minute. Mission component, object reference. Oh, gotta type one in. Mission component. All right, we just need to, okay. So, and then we need to like just make sure that this gets bound at some point. So I think that's the mistake I must have made. Oh my god, if this is it, this will be so easy. Then I can move on to the next one. But I swear, every time I say that, no, I should have kept my mouth shut, because now it's not going to work. It's going to break. I've jinxed it now. God damn it. Why did I say anything? Should not have said that. Okay, so what we got to do is we got to, on this branch. Oh no, we do need to still have it plugged in there. And then we got to do it is valid. Oh, actually, no, we don't need to if it's casting. Yeah, never mind. So we just need to plug that in there. And... Flash bam, alakazam. Done. I think that's... I really hope that it's that simple. I really hope. Oh my... Okay, let's go. Let's see what happens. So if I collect all the cogs, I bet you it won't work. But let's just find out. Let's just see. So if I collect all of those... Okay, yeah, of course that didn't work. Oh, what? Okay, what's going on? What's going on here? Oh, I already had this. Okay, wait a second. What is all this? What's all this here then? Bind events. Okay, this actually might be a good thing. Because this... It's not reading this as a component. Okay, so at least it knows that the mission component is not there, but it should... Hold on, what's going on? What is going on? Oh, wait. Set mission active. And what is this other... Hold on, I gotta look at what bind mission events is. Okay, so this... Okay. Yeah, okay, this is fine. But... That is really weird. It seems to not, this seems to not work. Set active mission. Maybe I shouldn't, okay, I might try something else. Get mission. I might try this. See what happens. Okay, there was a bunch of errors, that didn't work. So, can't read mission component. So that wasn't happening earlier, so I'm not sure exactly, maybe it just didn't know that it was in, I don't know, maybe that it's, or maybe it was just skipping all this, I have no clue. At least it knows that it's empty. It wasn't acting like it was empty, even though it was empty earlier. So at least, I don't know, that's a little silver lining, I guess. Oh yeah, man. Raven resolves his tech deck. Episode 3. Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much. Look, I will say, I'm constantly analyzing what I'm doing. Okay, I'm constantly thinking, am I going a little too far with this or not? Okay, and you know, I think in some instances, from experience, I would probably think not to spend as long on things like this, but for this specific thing, because of how powerful and important of a thing this is going to be, this is like the exception I will make. But I do not plan to go this hard on certain other areas. But this is like, there's been times in the past where I've gone a little too hard on things, but I can't undo that now. I would have, if I had to go back, I wouldn't spend as much time, because I did a lot of this kind of stuff earlier when I didn't really know what I was doing. And especially for like the UI settings menu. Like for one of my really early devlogs, I like spent way too long on the settings menu, because even that still doesn't really work fully. And I kind of wish I actually know there was no possible way to actually get out of that, because back then the common UI component didn't exist, and that solves a lot of my problems that I had building that thing. So that was just a thing where I was too early, and I had to wait for Unreal to come out with a plugin that does that way easier. But if that existed back then, I wouldn't have gone as hard. But for this thing, this kind of thing isn't going to get done by a plugin. This is something I have to do. And I've thought very carefully. It's like, am I going to get sucked into a black hole again with this stuff? But I know for this thing, for how core of a thing it is, I absolutely know with full certainty that this will pay off. I absolutely know that. No doubt about it. I'm suffering right now, but when I get this working and start making like alpha content, I'm gonna be smiling. I'm gonna be so happy. It's just getting there, okay? It's just the uphill battle. But once I'm over the hill, I know it's gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna say, wow, I'm so glad that I made this framework and actually put the time in, because I know it. I know exactly in my head how I want to use it. I know the exact purpose. I know the exact parameters it needs to have. I know exactly how I'm going to use it. Whereas stuff in the past where I spent too long, that was because I didn't know what I was going to use it for. So there's a bit of a difference there. So yeah, when it comes to indulging tech debt, while we're on that topic, that's one of my thoughts about it. As I didn't really know enough about it like a year or two ago, but I think for this, because I have a very clear idea on what I'm going to use it for, unlike previous times, I'm a lot more confident in sticking and committing with this thing. But anyway, thanks so much, Take 22. I hope so. Well, yeah, thanks to your encouragement, it's made things a bit easier. Let's just say. So I just want to play through this again. Because it seems... Do we still get... Oh, where... Okay. So it seems that if we plug that in, it causes the error. Excuse me. Ugh. Let's try... Okay, let me move this. I'm gonna put the print here. I just want to see what it prints out. Okay, no, that worked. I saw the print string and it worked. I don't know why. I don't know where. Huh, wait a sec. No, wait a minute. We need to get... Okay, wait a sec. Wait a second. Wait a moment. Wait just a minute. I don't know, because I don't know where that's triggering from. So I need to be very careful about getting hope for that, because I don't know where that's coming from. So we should get the owner's name. So actually get, because all of the metrics are calling this. So when the mission starts, it'll have 2 print strings. Okay, the gate 1 and 2 both say it. That's great news. While we're here, actually... Oh, that's... No, wait a minute. Hold on, something ain't right. Gate 1 shouldn't be doing that. Hold on a sec. I might be doing something in the wrong order here. Auto assigned mission. If is not valid. Well, hold up a minute. Hold on. Hold on. No, okay, this is in the right spot. There's something about this. It's staring me right in the face. You know what? Let's get rid of this, because this is just clutter. It's taking up mental RAM. Let's get rid of that. Let's just focus on this. But there's something isn't right. This gate 1 shouldn't be triggering anything. Oh no, that does have... Wait a second. Wait a second. Hold up. Auto assign mission. Okay, well let's... I didn't realize I had that turned on. Int counter, neither. Okay, so these are both now the exact same. They have the exact same parameters now, both of these gates. Good advice, NQ. Yeah, don't do time forward movement as your first thing. Take it from me. You don't want to do that. Trust me. Just don't. Just don't do it. It's too late for me, but you still have time. You can still be saved. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, wait. That works? Oh my... Oh, yes. Oh, that's a poggers moment right there, guys. Oh, that actually... Oh, wait. Oh, no. Oh, no. What's going on? Why is there a big thing? Why is there this on my screen? Oh, okay, I might know what's going on there, but we'll get to that. I just want to try that again. You cut off 1 head and 2 more sprout in its place. But if I collect all of them, it should open both doors, and that somehow, I don't know. Yes! Okay, well that works. Okay, but there's something else that doesn't work. And this is where things get real funny. What is this on the screen, you may be wondering? Why is there a big thing of text saying 10 out of 10 collected? It's like, wait a minute, hold on, because you might be looking at this going, it's like, got something in there, it's actually telling me information. It's almost as if it was tracking the amount of cogs that I was collecting for that gate the whole time. Yes. So here's the thing, here's the bug I didn't tell you about yet. So one of those gates is supposed to spawn a metric on the screen in the top that says 0 out of 10 collected, so that you would know that you need to collect the cogs to open the door, except the metric wasn't spawning and I forgot about it and I just left it. But it seems to spawn it only when we restart the mission. So every time I hit respawn, it'll add that metric to the screen. And it doesn't seem to update for some reason. I don't know why. So that's it. That's fun. That's interesting. And then now it doesn't... Okay, that's really funny. It doesn't work. Oh my... Okay. Okay, let's hold up. Let's back up for a moment. That is hilarious. Okay, I'll admit that's pretty funny. So yeah, why that spawned on the screen? Here's what's supposed to happen. You see how there's like a metric on the middle of the screen that vanishes after a bit? So in that same location, one of these gates is supposed to spawn a metric on the screen as well. And it's supposed to say cogs collected so that, you know, it's obvious that you collect the things. Except it doesn't. You notice how it isn't spawned it yet. It hasn't done that. And I don't know why. That's probably another bug we'll have to look at. But it seems, yeah, it's like spawning it after I've collected them all. And it spawns it, because it doesn't know what slot to put it in, it just puts it over the whole screen. So that's interesting. That is interesting. That is very interesting. Give me one moment. I'm gonna I might have a slight fix for this for now. I'm going to turn off the metric for the countdown. And we'll see what happens. So the reason I have this... Oh. I've broken something else. I was gonna say the reason I have that test countdown is because eventually what I want for the mission... Yeah, here we go. Eventually, I know it looks really boring. If I go and hit restart, I can't move. And also, yeah, this happens. Hold on. Let me go back. I just wanted to explain. So when it's all here and you can't move or anything, and then you can move after like 3 seconds. What I want to have when I actually get this all working is I want there to be this cool intro sequence when you start a mission. So I want there to be big text on the screen that says 3, 2, 1, go. And I don't want it to be lame like in the old builds. I want it to be like cool. I want the camera to like, you know, cinematically like, you know, have 3 different, like show Gabby from 3 different angles. I want her to have some kind of pose she does. And then like after like the countdown is done, then the mission starts. So I have a placeholder state for that, which is why it, like when I start the mission, I can't move. It's just I don't have any assets to put in there yet. So that's why that is there. It's a place, it's like a little space of time that I'm gonna fill with stuff when I get around to it. But it looks really underwhelming for now, but it's gonna pay off, okay? I know I keep saying that, but trust me. Everything I've done has always paid off, and this will too, okay? I know it will. Now, yeah, so this little bug is very interesting with the metric spawning. I wonder what's going on with that. Well, okay, before we get into that, let's clean this up, because this is looking a little raggy, little messy, little spaghetti, little bit of, yeah. So we can get rid of that print. I'm just thinking... Do I want that to be... Okay, no, I do want that here. Yeah, I'll leave it here. I just need to make this go around. Make it a bit tidier. I'm not losing my sanity, okay? I just am so... I'm like 10 parallel universes ahead of what you're seeing in the game, okay? I just have... I'm like the... You know, what's the... It's like, I'm limited by the technology of my time, or the skills of my time, or whatever the hell it is. But it's in my in my head, okay, I can see it. You know? It's like when Cisco was possessed by the prophets. That's me. And I'm predicting that there's gonna be a war with Bajor. That's me right now. And no one believes me. But Cisco was right. I don't know, this is a really obscure Deep Space Nine reference. But he was right. Everyone called him crazy. He was like, no, you can't sign the treaty. It's not time yet. And he had no logical reason why. But then when the Dominion War happened, Cisco, what happened? Oh, yeah, that ramblings of Cisco saved the galaxy. So that's me, okay? Yes, I'm comparing myself to a fictional Star Trek character, but that's what's going on, okay? I know this is one of those things where it's like, in the long term, okay? It's a long-term reward. So I'm gonna add a little comment bubble to this section, actually. Or maybe to the whole... Hold on, let me move all that down. I need to make more room. I want to have a nice, comfortable comment bubble around this whole thing. I just need to make more room, because this is a very important bit that I don't want to, like, mess up later. Yeah, NQ knows he knows what I'm talking about. See, that's like the very misleading thing about, I guess, about me. Everyone assumes I'm a big anime fan. But I actually don't watch... I've probably said this like 100 times now, but yeah, I watch, like... I'm kind of more of a Star Trek fan, really, than an anime fan. I just really like the art style. What can I say? But I haven't really found an anime that is like something I'd like. There's like 1 or 2, but those are like the ones that everyone watches, so I wouldn't consider myself like what do they call them? An otaku or whatever? I wouldn't consider myself that, because I'd probably say like... You know, when I tell them, oh yeah, my favorite anime is Death Note, they probably all laugh at me, because it's like, oh, that's such a mainstream, like, have you watched, I don't know, something like Attack on Titan or whatever? That's probably what they would want me to watch. So I'll never fit in, man. I don't belong anywhere. I'm just this guy that likes anime but doesn't like anime at the same time. So, anyway. Watch Deep Space Nine and... No. Actually, no. Watch Next Generation, then watch Deep Space Nine. Those are good shows. If there's like an anime version of that, and not Lower Decks. I'm not in. No, that's like adult cartoon Rick and Morty stuff. I don't like that. But if it's like old Star Trek but in anime style, hell yeah, that'd be my show. So we've got a big comment bubble, and we're gonna call this find current mission and bind game mode events. So you know what this is gonna do? I'll just finish explaining. So this, in theory, should not only work when auto-assigning the game mode for the mission, but it means every time the mission is changed, it will also reassign this, which is what the binding event does. But I feel like I should be able to plug this from here instead, but I don't know why it seems to not work. I want to try this one more time, and if this doesn't work, I'll go back, but I really want to use this component. Okay, let's compile and try that. It might not work, and if not, I'll just switch it back to the other one. Yeah, I will confess, I think I watched like the first season of Attack on Titan, and like I get why people like it, but I didn't get why I liked it. I wasn't really that into it. But hell, what do I know? I'm not an anime connoisseur. Maybe it actually is really good. Okay, well, whatever I just did there didn't work. So let's change that back to this. I will say the action was really good, but I'm not really that into action, which is probably pretty obvious because I watched goddamn Star Trek. Of course, I'm not into action, so that could be why. Very well animated though. Art style's great. I don't know, I didn't really remember much. I think that's why. It's because I hardly remember a single thing that happened in the show. There are bits I remember that were very uneventful, and that's probably why because that's like my lasting memory of it. Oh, okay, why is it... What did I just do? It was okay, wait, no. It was working. It was working. Why is it not working now? What did I do? What's going on? You guys saw that it worked like 15 minutes ago. Is it easier to make it? Yes, dude, it is hell easier to make single player. So much easier. It is really, well, it's not easy. None of it's really that easy, but I will tell you right now that single player way easier than multiplayer. And that's a fact. Okay, why now it's just not working? Okay, what's going on here? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, actually, yeah, that Oh, wait a second. Oh, whoa. Oh, I know. This has to go there. That has to go here. And that, we have to ignore that. We have to ignore, I think we have to ignore that. Actually, let me go check. What is, okay, yeah, we don't want to do that. We want to ignore that. I think. Let's try. And if that works, I will explain why in a moment. Yes, okay. So the reason that worked this time was because this event can't be called there because it gets called even when there's no mission, and it depends on there being a mission component. So now it's only called when there is a mission component that has been assigned. So there you go. That's the, yep, that was the solution. So let's update that bubble. A validated get? I've never heard of that. If you right-click getter, you'll see the option. Let's have a look then. I cannot find it. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong place. Oh, convert. Oh, I have. Oh my dude. Whoa. You just blew my mind. I have never heard of this before. That is nuts. Oh, well, I'm going to have to redo all my blueprints now. Oh, okay, let's try that. Let's see if this works. Thanks for the tip, man. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not a programmer primarily. I'm still, you know, when people say, are you going to use UE5? I always say no, because I don't really know anything about UE4 even, and that has way more than I need. This is what I mean when I say that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I've been using Unreal for a couple years now, but I really don't know anything about it, to be honest. Like, I don't know that much. I just know enough that the amount that I need to like get by. But this kind of stuff, this is like new. This is like, oh my goodness. Oh my damn. Oh, so if I read that correctly, oh, that's brilliant. Oh, which means, can I do it here? Oh, wait. Can I make that a validated get? No, I can't do it there. All right, but I can do it there. So that's pretty cool. Thanks so much for that tip. I appreciate it. Now I feel like I have to go and redo everything with that. So if let's hope that worked. If that didn't work for some weird reason, I'd be so depressed because that seems like such a brilliant node. I'm surprised why that's just not a thing by default. Like, that's brilliant. Oh, that's perfect. It opened both doors. Hell yeah. Oh. Brilliant. Okay, I can save. Let's just clean up the spaghetti a little, and then I can save that, and we can move on to. I should probably check on the turret actually, because the turret doesn't contribute to score, and it should. And with this bug fixed, it actually might work now, because I needed to fix this before I got around to that. So, yeah. And I've just realized that this I can put on a. I can get rid of this. I think I can just make a sequence, so that saves me having to branch around stuff. Because I had known about sequence nodes in the past, but I didn't really use them that much, but now I see that they're like really cool actually. So I even might make that like its own thing. Because this is like, I always have to like go around things and do them in one big order, but sequence nodes kind of do the same without you having to like make this kind of stuff. So I want to see if I can get that to work. So that's the next sequence, is just that stuff, and then the third sequence would be this. And I know it looks messy, I'll clean it up. But let's see if that still works. Did I fix the countdown bug? No, we're not gonna get to that one today. That's a new one, and that might be a very complicated one to figure out. Because there's a lot of things there's a lot of places I have to look, but we will fix others in the meantime. And that, hell yeah, that still worked. Nice. All right, so let's clean that up now for real. Yeah, these nodes are great. So we can get rid of, oh, not that. Get rid of this now. So I'm gonna make this beautiful. This is like the Marie Kondo part of the stream, where all of my anguish just rolls off my back like water when I actually get to like make it tidy. Makes it very, very cool. Okay, so that's gonna be like one little self-contained bit. We actually might just make that just the whole thing. Or I'll make that a thing. And then we'll also make another one. call it set assign mission reference. This I will call assign HUD reference, because we need that. So each of these does something different, and then we'll go. So this is all on begin play. So let's break these off into nice little categories. And select those, and let's just like bring them a little closer. There we go. That's very cool. Hell yeah. All right. I should probably commit my changes now before it gets worse. Check out selected. Yes, please. And I'll save. Let's just save it all. Save everything. This is perfect. Oh man, I wish that this was just the end. It's going so well. This actually is going pretty well this time. Usually by this time in the stream, everything's just like falling apart. Okay, is that still gonna work? Let's just do one more test. So what should happen is if I collect all these, it should trigger both gates to open. And the really cool thing that I love about this is that on the gate, I only had to add like one line to get that to all work. So all you have to do to get that kind of thing to operate is you gotta like tell the object how to behave once the conditions are met, and then that's it. All the other conditions that happen are all taken care of with all the other systems going on. All right, so I'm gonna like Control Shift S all of that stuff, and I'm gonna go over to my other window and push that to source control, because this is like checkpoint moment right here. This is like important. I must save all of this. Save all. Okay, so fixed. What commit message should I write? Fixed issue where metrics could not find currently active mission when attached to anything but the mission actor. Because that was I know it sounds like a really specific problem, doesn't it? Welcome to my world. So let's check that in. And I would show what I'm doing on my source control, but it shows my email address, and I'd rather not show that. So, because I don't want to get another 10 email, because I did show my email address once and I regret it, because I still to this day get spammed with Raid Shadow Legends sponsorships. So I don't want that to happen again. Joe Lowe's says UE5 didn't change scripting too much. Well, yeah. See, to me, that's like another reason why it's just kind of not worth upgrading. Because, I mean, hell, it's a great engine. Not saying that. We always get into this discussion every time. I always get asked, am I going to upgrade this engine? Despite that my systems always break, that isn't the engine's fault. That's my fault. But the engine is fine. It does exactly... like, it does way more than I need it to already, and I'd rather not risk upgrading it. And I have a story. I have like a story about why upgrading. I'm always very cautious about upgrading, but I've told that story 100 times. You probably have your own story. Most of you probably have your own stories of that. But yeah, when people say it's seamless, they're always lying. It's never seamless. It might be seamless if you have like a project that's a day old and you've just downloaded like 10 marketplace assets. Yes, that is like the only time that it's seamless. But for everything else, especially this project that's been like years in the making, it's gonna be like 2 months, maybe. No, not 2 months. Maybe like 2 or 3 weeks of like fixing, because there's probably some little change that they make that like messes everything up. And it's not their fault, because, you know, they're not upgrading the engine with my project in mind specifically, but yeah. But, you know, that's why I always, like, when you point out things like that UE4 has, like, validated get, it's just like, man, I don't know, I don't need UE5. This has plenty. UE4 is like, I'm at the tip of the iceberg. I haven't even gone down the Unreal iceberg at all. Like, things like rendering and stuff, there's probably heaps of things in there I've never, like, tried out before. I'm very excited to, as well. Like, I'm really excited to get into that stuff, but it just hasn't arisen. The need hasn't arisen yet. Like, and then, you know, the sequencer, like, I actually just recently started looking into the sequencer, and I didn't realize how, like, freaking powerful that thing was. It's incredible. I know UE5 might have a better one, but hell, I'm looking at the UE4 one, and I'm like, man, this is already, like, does way more than I was planning to ever use it. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So now that that's fixed, I'm like, can you believe it? I actually fixed a bug on stream. Like for the first time in like 6 months, I actually managed to fix something. Like, yeah, I actually managed to fix something. That's incredible. Maybe things aren't getting so bad. Maybe things are on the up and up. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it then. So I can get rid of that now. There's this other. Well, actually, let's get to the turret because there's something about the turret that I mentioned that I wanted to do. So I've actually made. Because all of these things, enemies and the player and other types of objects that have health on them, I've actually had to rewrite the health component to work with the new way I'm doing metrics. And I haven't gotten around to doing that for the turret yet, so we might as well, because that should not take too long, hopefully. So let's open that, and let's open the, because there's a specific thing you have to do to get it to work to accumulate score and that kind of thing, because it doesn't have any of that functionality yet. So let's open Blueprint. Let's open the parent. Okay, maybe I don't need to do that much. I don't know, we'll find out. So to get the turret to work with score, because I'll explain why. So these enemies, the drones, have some components on them. Most importantly, it has a score binder on it. Now, if I go click on this guy, let me just check something. So that, yeah, so this will work now where it's got include active missions. And so it'll know to look for the currently active mission. And when the enemy is defeated, wait a second. Okay, I'm not entirely sure about this, but it should add 100 points, but something isn't right. Because I was working, I don't know, maybe I forgot. I was working on something specific about the drone and its health system. And I had it where you would get different points depending on whether you did damage to it or whether you, like, destroyed it. And I don't know if that's still in here somewhere or not. Okay, it isn't. Huh. I could have sworn. Maybe I was wrong. Oh no, it was on the health component. Okay, so this is, I don't know. Hopefully this isn't too much of a rabbit hole. We might not want to do this, but what I wanted to have in theory is that this, whatever this is, I don't know if the top two variables actually do anything, but the other variables, it's supposed to like assign points depending on whether or not, like depending on the different states. So for example, when we're hit, like, grant a certain amount of points. In this case, it's 0. Then when you die, like, grants 100 points. And then when you respawn, it can grant another amount of points. I don't think I ever got that to work, though. Because the default way it works, because this is very specific to just a health component, but the normal way it works is that it only has, like, one value you can set it to. So I'm not sure if I actually got around to implementing that or not, because it's been like a week and I honestly just can't remember. But let's just get the basics working. If we get to that, we get to that. If not, then, well, yeah, it's kind of a bit of a rabbit hole then we might not want to go down today, but surely at some point we will. But for the moment, let's focus on just the simples of it all. So I need to add a score binder to the turret. So this is, in theory, how easy it should be. So this is the turret. These are the components that are on the turret. This component, you know, controls its shooting. This component does its ability to sense where Gabby is. This is the character movement, and it might be funny because the turrets don't really move, but they can. I just have them not do that. And then there is health, which is how turrets can be destroyed. But if we go add component and go score, we want score binder. And then there should be some parameters we might need to set. Let me just check the melee trooper, see what if they're okay. So I think I just need to set a score value, and I think that's it. Okay, so we go to the turret, we go to score binder. We have it. I have by default it will include the active mission. It'll have increment value. We don't want it to add 1 point. We'll add 100. We can add more points if we want, but I'm just going to try it like this for now. And we're going to hit compile and save, and that should work, but we'll see. So wait for the invisible countdown. Okay, let's go. So 100, 200, 330. So if I collect that, we should get 100 points. And oh my god, that actually did work the first time. Okay, that's brilliant. Hell yeah. See, that's how simple I want it to be, okay? It's finally getting to the point where I can actually start using it without it breaking. Which feels very, you don't realize how good that feels. So that's really cool. All we gotta do is like, okay, and then there's this other bug. Just ignore that. Like, we'll get to that. But yeah, the turret will now give us points when it's destroyed. Anyway, actually, there's one thing I do want to check real quick. I want to see if it's actually using that value, or if I actually did make it so that it changes depending on whether you get hit or whatever. I actually don't remember. So if I go to score binder, change the increment value to like 1 instead. We'll see. If it adds only 1 point, then we know that it's using that number. And if not, then we know it's using the other. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's back up. Back up a second. I think that thing I just explained like 5 minutes ago, I think it actually might work. I just don't remember doing it. That's the thing. 5. Oh, actually, wow, that actually did work. Okay, that is sensational. Okay, so let me explain why I'm so amazed right now. Because it may be, I don't know if I've made any sense what I just said. But that whole thing, so okay, here's what's gonna happen. Because it's a little misleading now. So normally, by default, if you're adding things to score, you use these numbers. But in this case, because it's got a health component, we don't use these numbers. So I'm gonna just delete that. We're not gonna have anything there because we don't need it, because it's actually being controlled somewhere else, specifically for the enemies. And there's a reason for that, and I'll get into that in just a moment. I'm just gonna undo and like delete that because we're not gonna need those numbers filled. So if we go to the health component, this is where things get kind of interesting. I have no memory of doing this, but I must have done it at some point for it to be working. But there should be a function in here called set score. And, oh, okay, maybe this isn't it. Honestly, okay, let's go look at some of the things. So if we go to the health component, which is on Gabby, and it's on the little robot drone, and it's on the turret. So there's a few different events that okay, so this actually does work. That's pretty cool. So depending on how you take damage, it'll apply a different amount of points. So when we go set health, this is like when we get damaged. Because maybe some of these enemies might have more than 1 hit point. Like, you hit them, and they take 3 more hits to defeat. In this case, you would not earn any points, because I have it set to 0. But if I wanted to, I could make it so that you get 10 points for hitting something, and you get, like, double points for actually destroying it. And then maybe if it respawns, you can, like, gain points again or lose points. Like, you can do that kind of stuff. So if we go to like set dead, that also has, it puts in a different value. It says set score and it picks a different value. And then for respawn, it also sets a value. Because an idea that I had for this sort of thing is I wanted to try out an idea where if Gabby respawns, she loses points. Because I want to encourage a playstyle in the game where you can get through a whole level without dying. And I had the idea, I haven't verified or tested this, I had no idea if it's a good idea or not, but I figured it'd be really interesting to see what happens if I deduct points from players when they die. And I'll have to see how that plays out in testing, but for the moment I figured let's add that functionality in. So, you know, if you have on respawn, because remember, this also applies to Gabby. So I can set when Gabby respawns, she like I set points on respawn, I can set to like -10, so you lose 10 points or something. So that is all possible. And yeah, I totally forgot that I had actually got, like, that this was all actually functional. So that's really cool. I don't know why I left this here, and there must be a reason I left this here. Why did I leave that there? It's gotta be a reason. I'm sure it'll come to me. What does this actually do? Oh, okay, it actually does something really similar to... Okay, I'll ignore that though, because it's working fine. I don't need to worry about what that does. I think I wanted to use that node, but it wasn't working for this one. But we'll leave it in just for the moment in case I ever get around to figuring out why that was there. So let's save that. Let's just make sure everything's saved actually while we're here. Because that's actually another thing off the to-do list. So that's 2 items today, which is fantastic. So let's Control-Shift-S everything. Check out everything. I'm going to do another source control push real quick because this is perfect. Things are going real good right now. So added score binder to turret. That's what I did. Check in. Oh, see you, Tim. Thanks for sticking around, man. What are you doing so early in the morning? Dude, it's like 5 p.m. What are you talking about? Remember, Los Angeles is huge. Los Angeles has multiple time zones. We're all in Los Angeles after all. I know that it's kind of confusing, right? Because people go, oh, the entire world is just Los Angeles. It all must be the same time zone. That's where you're wrong. Okay, that's where you're dead wrong. Los Angeles is big. Lots of time zones. So now that I've saved everything, let's see if it still works. Because sometimes when I save it and then try it, it'll break. Let's see what happens. So 100 points, 200 points, 300 points. Can I get 400? Yes. Okay, that does work. Fantastic. And that was literally by just adding the component. Okay, that's why I'm so oh, I know it doesn't seem like a lot. Okay, I get it. To you guys looking at this, you're like, oh, well, he's just made it add score, no big deal. But to get to that point, to get it to work the way I want, to get it to be that simple, where I just have to drag and drop something on and it works. That's the kind of, like, when I think about development in the next year, I want it to be, because there's going to be a lot of stuff I have to do later that I'm not going to enjoy. So I'm trying to make it so that the things I can know, like the problems I will foresee having, I'm trying to make it so that I have a less harsh time with those things, so that I can occupy more of my anxieties around the other unknowns that I'm gonna have to deal with. So when things like this get sorted and stuff, where you know, I can like modify game logic by just dragging and dropping. I know it was a lot of work to get to that point, but it's gonna make me so much happier later on. Because I know that later, when I'm in the midst and I'm learning some other thing, like doing QA testing or whatever the hell, like heaps of things I still have to do, right? But if one of the things I have to worry about, if there's like one less thing to worry about because, oh, this whole code thing I want to do, I don't have to like code a new thing. I can just drag and drop something I already made. Like if I can have more of those moments, it's gonna like free up my mental like bandwidth to tackle other problems, which is why I'm so thrilled that this actually works. Like, by dragging and dropping. Like, I want the things that I'm familiar with to be that simple. And to work reliably. And in this case, those things seem to do that. Which is, like, it's just great. And I'm really looking forward to actually using these later. Because that's the thing. You know, when you're in development and you're there for a while, and it's like... Because I've been doing this for, you know, a number of years now, and it's like... I'm always thinking about, how do I make this less hell? Like, how do I actually enjoy myself while I do this? And it's little things like this that kind of make it bearable, because I know that this will make things easier for me later. And if it's like, you know, when I'm making missions and I'm like, oh, I want this turret to, like, I'm going to hide a turret in this little bit and I want that one to give you more points. That is now really easy to do. Like, things like that. And I want to be able to, the tools I'm making, I want them to encourage that kind of spontaneous play when I'm making level content. Because I think that if you lose track of that, if implementing some idea becomes so difficult, then it's going to discourage that kind of stuff. Because while you're in there in the field, you come up with heaps of things, and it's not the kind of things that get trashed later. Like, this is at the point of the project where you have a very solid, firm line of what you don't cross when you're coming up with ideas. But there's things I really want to play around with, because it should feel like playing. Like, when I'm making levels, I don't want it to be hell. I want it to be fun, because if I have fun making the level, you guys are going to have more fun playing the level. So I'm trying to think of, like, what tools can I make for myself now that are going to, like, benefit me later? And it's going to make making level content fun later. And it's things like this. It's things like this. Because Because yeah, now, like, I know it's a very small example, but with what these can do later, it's going to be really cool because I'm going to have a really fun time actually using them. And it's going to, like, make my life happier. And it's like, why wouldn't you want that, right? Like, that's something you probably wouldn't think to do if it's, like, a short-term project, but because I've been at this for a while, and I predict I'll still be at it for a little while longer, you know, that's something I care about. I don't want to be, like, depressed, like, in another year. So yeah, that's why like I spend so long on like getting the tools set and like fun, even if it takes me like a little bit of like time investment at the beginning, because I know that it means I won't get depressed later as much. I'm probably still going to get depressed later, let's be real, but at least it's like, it won't be over, you know, the score not working. Like, it won't be over stuff like that, at least. So anyway, now the question is, should I stop now or should I try and fix one more bug? Should I stop now and like take a break and walk, or should I try and fix one more thing? I'm not sure. Good on you, Lugs. I don't know how to pronounce that name, sorry. But best of luck to you, man. Yeah, composition. Yeah, exactly. It is like Lego. It's exactly like Lego. That's how I think about it. That's a great analogy. One more? Okay, let me look at my list. Okay, okay, so this problem. I'm not sure how easy this will be. Okay, this might be a bit of a hard one. But there's another issue I found. Actually, let me write down the bug I found earlier so I don't forget. Because at the beginning of the stream, there was that bug where count... I'm trying to remember what the bug was. Watch component doesn't load from starting value. Because there's a thing I need to investigate. Let me just check. I want to write this down so I don't forget. We're not going to solve this one today, but I want it, because if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget about it. And it's going to be a pleasant surprise for me tomorrow when I remember it exists. So I just want to make sure I understand what it is I need to look into, and then we'll get to fixing the bug I actually plan on fixing. So I can close some of these now. But there is a specific thing. Let me just, I gotta find it. So there's a Boolean. I think it's called like load on begin or something like that. I just gotta look for it. Load value on activate. Load value from start. I think it's like these might be causing some issue. So let me just read what those say. Clamp min, can save, deactivate on complete. Set active on death, set active on respawn. We'll get to those in a moment. They are somewhat relevant to our next problem. Load on respawn, update after completion, bind on activate, load on activate. I think it was these variables I need to look into. Load from, because these are new, these ones. Load on activate, load from starting value and activate. Okay, so let me jot those down. B load value on activate and B load from starting. So that's another, we'll get to that later. Back to this. We'll try and work on this one. So there's a bug. I'll show you this bug. It's kind of funny actually. So if I launch a mission, I might turn the countdown back on because you will need this turned on for this one. So I'll reset that to use the metric. So now if I start the mission, it'll have 3, 2, 1, 0, and then it'll start the mission. Now here's the thing. What's supposed to happen? So if I go and exit out of this mission, and like, because there's a trigger volume that activates it. So this is no mission active. I can move, I can do whatever. But if I go into this volume, I can't move now. It'll do the countdown. It's supposed to have a cool pose, and I'll have that later when I get animations and stuff. And then after like that Oh, and I'll have to do something. Hold on. Let me turn that, because that's another... let me jot that one down too, actually, where it's like, gate spawns metric over whole screen when mission restarts. That's another bug we'll get to later. I'm not sure how to fix that one yet. So let me just disable that from happening at the moment, real quick. Create widget. Okay, I'll disable create widget on activate. I think. Is that what I want? Event counter. Int counter. No, wait. Undo. What did I just turn on? I don't think that was the right one. Yeah, wait. Just a moment. I just gotta turn off something. So I want to go to gate 1. Set widget active on activate. So we want to set that to neither. And then if I save, now it should not do that if I restart the mission. So if I 3, 2, 1 go and then hit restart, oh, it still does it. Okay, that is weird. Okay, I don't know why that's happening. Let's click on you again. Int counter. Set widget active on deactivate. Okay, I'll leave that to true because I do want to test that later, but it seems not to. Set widget active on... Ah, that could be it. So I'll go neither. False. Okay, I'm gonna have to do something about those defaults. And then I'll need to set that off. Just, yeah, so let's try that now. So if I hit restart, it shouldn't spawn that thing on the screen anymore. Okay, that's fixed. But I'll need to investigate that later. For now, let's see what we got. So what was I was in the middle of explaining what it was. Oh yeah, let me demonstrate it. I have to like play it to show you. So we have the 3, 2, 1 go, and I can't move during that countdown. After the countdown finishes, I can move. And the reason why that's so brilliant is to get that to work didn't require any extra coding or sequencing because of the way it works. It just kind of works that way. Except when I do this. I'm gonna restart the mission again, and I'm gonna hit respawn during that countdown sequence. And you'll notice it'll let me move before the countdown finishes. So if you pay attention, it actually will reset the countdown. Like if it goes 3, 2, 1, and if I hit R, it goes back to 2, 1, and if I hit R again, it like will restart that countdown sequence, but it triggers the watch, which it shouldn't do, and it lets me move, which it shouldn't do. Now I know why this is happening. The reason this is happening is because the metrics are very powerful. Let me explain to you one of the things that these metrics are capable of. Each metric, each one, can detect certain states of the player. Each metric knows when the player dies, when the player respawns, when the player takes damage, that kind of stuff. And some metrics are designed to do things when certain player events are triggered. And if you're following, you'll know exactly where this is going. So let's show you an example where this is supposed to work, where it's actually beneficial to have this kind of thing. So let's look at the, I don't know, let's get some score going. Let's get some collectibles. Let's go hit a checkpoint. And let's go collect some more things and kill some more enemies. Okay, so what's supposed to happen, and I can't remember if it's supposed to save or load which ones, but I think what's meant to happen is when you die and you respawn, it's supposed to set those metrics back to what they were at that checkpoint. Except you can configure them to do other things too. So I think what I have set it to at the moment for this mission is that when you die, the score gets set back to 0. I think the time still stays the same. I think the time doesn't reset, but the collectibles and score get set back to 0, I think, when you die. So if we, let's see what happens. Okay, that does happen. If I wanted to, I can also change it so that the score loads a value from when you last touched the checkpoint. and stuff. So let me just check if that actually works. I'm pretty sure it should work. If I go to score, it should be just a tick box called load on, I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, can save. I just have to turn that on. I think that should do it. So if I hit play, and let's do that again. This time you'll notice a difference. So if I get some enemies, touch a checkpoint, get more score, and then die, the score will go back down to the number it was. Yeah, it goes back to 330 when I touched the checkpoint, because that's what it was at when I touched it. So just with a tick box, I can change that. Pretty cool. So that's when a metric keeps track of player events like that, that's why. It's so that it can do things like that. And it can know, oh, we've died. Let's reset our score back to the saved value and all that. That's where it's meant to work. And it does. But this is where it gets funny. So I'm going to change this back to the way I had it. But there's one problem. And that is that they will always do that. So what you'll notice, there's another example. I want you to keep an eye on the stopwatch again. The little clock in the corner. I want you to look at that. Keep your eye fixated on it. And I want you to watch what happens when I'm going to go run into this laser grid. And I want you to watch the clock. All right? 3, 2, 1, go. You see how it stopped? And you see how it turned itself back on when I respawned? So you might see where this is going. That is by design. It's supposed to happen. The metric is designed that when the character respawns, it will turn it. When the character dies, the stopwatch will disable. And when the character respawns, it will enable again. And you might see what the problem is now. Because it'll do that all the time. Even when the mission isn't active yet. Because the mission, when you have that countdown sequence, it's not supposed to start the mission. It has that countdown first. So the mission is in a state, because there's a few different states. The mission is in a state called active. It's in a state called loaded. All right. So the mission is loaded, but it isn't active until that countdown finishes. So it's loaded everything in, but the mission isn't begun yet. But once that countdown finishes, then the mission starts. But that thing where the metrics will bind itself to player events, like when you die, it doesn't know that the mission hasn't loaded. It doesn't care. It'll just do it no matter what. So that means if I'm in the countdown sequence, like let's exit out and redo it. If I'm in the countdown, the mission is loaded, but it isn't enabled yet. And if I hit the respawn button, which I have bound to R, because the stopwatch is designed to turn itself off and back on again when I respawn, it'll do that even when the mission isn't actually enabled yet. So that's why that's happening. And yeah, that's kind of the weird little predicament. So what we need to do to solve that bug is to somehow get the metrics to not bind themselves until after the mission has actually been enabled. It should be simple, but we'll see. Okay, we'll see. So let's investigate, because there should be some events down here called bind player events. It should be down here somewhere. Don't remember if it's a function or not. We'll have a look. It might be a custom. Oh, here we go. Yeah, okay, so here it is. Here it is. So there's an event called bind health, and this is the thing that binds all of that stuff. So when bind health is called, it will get the current player, gets their health component, and binds custom events to when you die and when you respawn. So when you die, it will trigger a custom event, or a function in this case, I think. Oh no, here we go. Here's the event down here. So when you die, it'll go, oh, turn the metric off and then turn it back on. That when you respawn. Except you can actually have it so that it will, you can configure it. So like some metrics don't turn off, some of them do. That's what these variables are all about. Except if we go to actually where this is called, let's look at find references. Where is this being called? Oh, okay, wait a minute. Hold up. Set metric active. Oh, okay. So it'll take a parameter, and if that parameter is set, it will actually unbind it or rebind it. So this should be fine. It's just when this gets called is when the issue is. So if we go set metric active, let's find references to this, because I might know why this is happening. if I go find references, oh, there's a lot of references. Set act. So yeah, so the way that this works, I think this might be our culprit here. So what's going on is set metric active. Well, this is the function that turns the metric on and off. There is a parameter that it takes called bind. And this does three things depending on the thing you set it to. If you have it set to true, when you set a metric active, it will bind itself to those player health events. If you set it to false, it'll unbind from those player health events. And if you have it set to neither, it will do neither of those things. It will just ignore it just will skip that. So if we go to actually where that thing is called, where we go neither, it just ignores it. So the state of the bind state will be unchanged. Now we have a variable plugged in here, so we can actually tell it to bind and unbind depending on certain stages of the mission. So bind on activate means, do we want to bind player events when the metric is activated? And we do in this case. So I think there is let's check. Should be a thing here. Metric. Bind on activate. And then bind on deactivate. So if the metric is turned off, do we want to unbind it from player health events and have them stop listening? So I think I always have that set to neither in this case. And then for the health, I think for the watch I have it set bind on. I actually don't know. I'll have to check. But I think the root cause of this problem might be that it's binding itself at the wrong time. That's my suspicion on what this is. Bind on active is better than the bind you... Nice one. Yes, I would hope so. Can you just disable R during the countdown? Aha, well, it's not that simple. The R key, it isn't just... Okay, how do I explain that? It's not that simple, let's just say. Because the R key is used in a lot of things, and it isn't... The R key doesn't... It respawns the player. And the thing is, if I spam R, it kind of does work, but also kind of doesn't sometimes. Because what's supposed to happen, like what I want is if you press R during the countdown, it just restarts the countdown again. So that's what should happen. And even if I disable R, there might be a case later where this same situation comes up and the player gets set active by some other thing, or the player dies for some other reason. Like, for example, it might not even be the R key. Let's say we start the mission and then a random physics glitch happens and a big spike ball or an enemy just comes flying at Gabby and damages her during this. You get the same bug. So disabling R isn't really going to solve... That's kind of like a band-aid fix. It won't really solve the root problem. The root problem is that the metric is being bound to the player at an inappropriate time. It's being bound too early. So we need to make sure that doesn't happen. And I just need to read through this and see where it's going on, and I'll be able to figure it out, I think. And I think that might... I don't know if we'll get time, because I've got another maybe 20 minutes left. The timer doesn't reset if the R key is... No, it should. So if I do that again and just spam R, watch, you see the number at the very top? It's going 8989 milliseconds. Like, I'm spamming R right now, and the timer is just constantly... The mission is constantly being restarted. The watch on the other side, on the left, shouldn't be turned on yet. That's one of the bugs, and that's the bug I'm trying to fix. But you can actually have it so that you get to, like, the end of the countdown, and then you can hit R again, and it restarts it. The thing is that because of the way it's all bound, so we just got to make it so that you can spam R. Now, the thing is, I might not keep the R bind in for the final game. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that in or not. So yeah, it won't really... Fixing that now is like not... Like, as I explained, there are other conditions that can cause that bug besides the R key. So I need to make sure that those don't happen either. I have to cover all contingencies, not just the R key. So anyway, I need to figure out where this is being... So this is being called on begin play. Bind on activate. Let me just think for a moment. Wait a minute. Set active on begin play. Let me read. I gotta read this. So when we bind on begin play... Oh, I think I might know. I can't explain it in words yet, but I think I might know what the issue is here. So when active, if we tell it to go active, it will switch between, when metric is set active, it'll do stuff. Except even if this is set to disable, if it isn't set to active yet, and if we have binds... Oh, I gotta go read something real quick. I just gotta check the mission. I need to go to watch, and I need to check whether bind on active is true. So there should be a little thing in here. Value. Bind. Okay, so that is true. Let me check the other ones like cog. Is that turned on? If I go to metric. Okay, that's also true. Huh. Bind on activate true. I in my head, my neurons are firing, and I get it, but they're firing too fast. I can't explain it yet. Just give me a moment. I just got to think this over. So, if active is false, and if that is still true, it will still bind itself. Do I want it to do that? I don't know if that explanation made sense. But let me try. Okay, let me try again. All right. So, let's go back. Let's go here when we begin the mission, because what's happening is, by default, when I turn the metric on, which is what this thing is, bind on activate, that is supposed to trigger when the metric is turned on. When the metric is turned on, it will... I got lost there a minute. Hold on. When the metric is turned on, when it is switched on, bind on active is it'll do whatever that says. And bind on active by default, that's supposed to be like when you turn the metric on, it will bind itself. It'll bind to player events and listen to those things. Except we don't want it to do that if it doesn't actually activate itself. And I think that's the issue, is that it binds itself even if the metric isn't actually active. Now that I've just said that out loud, because it isn't that simple, because we kind of do want it to react to things. Oh no, okay, this might be a bit of a rabbit hole, guys. Okay, how do I explain this? So... the thing is, what I just explained, we kind of do want it to... we do want that. Because binding to health, that is what we want. It's just the things it does when it is bound to health is what we don't want. I don't know if that made any sense, but let me look for a more specific example of what I mean. It's kind of cyclical. I don't know how to describe it, but because here's the thing. We don't want it. We do want it to listen. We want it to listen to player events even when it's turned off sometimes. And an example of that is when you die, the watch pauses. Now, when the watch pauses, it's turned off, but it's still listening for player events because it needs to listen for when the respawn event happens for it to turn itself back on. So we don't want it to completely ignore player like health events when the metric is disabled. So that's I think what we're trying to do, it isn't like that. There's another way to look at this that I'm trying to... I think what we want it to do is we want it to only listen to health events. We want it to bind and do stuff. It's just we don't want it to do it when the mission is not active. I think that's what we're trying to do. So I think what I'm looking at it the wrong way. I think we need to like have something in here. Like when death is triggered or whatever, we need to check if the mission is active. Except we don't always want that. we only want that for missions. We don't want that for other objects, because other objects might use this kind of thing. So we might need to make a Boolean. I don't know if this will work, but just my game theory is I need to make a Boolean called it's a Boolean that when turned on, it means it'll only do the health events when the mission is active. So maybe only update health, only bind health. Well, maybe this is a very specific name for a variable. We might come up with a better name later. Only bind health when mission active. And I'm going to write a tooltip. This is probably not a great variable name, but I just need something. Let me just put a tooltip in. Whether or not to ignore player or ignore health events, player health events when mission is inactive. That's kind of what we want. We want it to be editable as well. And we need to put this in a specific category. Bind when mission is active. Oh, here we go. Here's some of the health stuff. Should I put this in its own category? I wonder. Maybe I should. So I'll make a category. We'll call this health. Because this is like really specific to... This won't apply to... This only applies to the player. Update after load on respawn. Let me just read these. On min, on max, can save. Deactivate on completion. Update after completion. Bind on activate. Okay, that is a... We want that here. Bind on... Load value on activate. Load from starting value on activate. Bind on deactivate. Okay, so these... What does set active do? Oh, okay, I think I know what these do. Set load value on respawn. Okay, so these, I'll move this variable down. Bind, set active, load on respawn. Okay, so these all of these variables depend on the player health. So I've grouped them in their own little category here, and we'll move this above here. Compile. Now we can use this new Boolean called only bind when mission active. And we're gonna just do like a branch. There's gonna be a few more conditions. Does this have a mission reference? Get mission component. Okay, this is gonna get a little messy, but just trust me. I'll clean it later. So there's a few conditions that need to be met for this. This Boolean has to be true, and the mission has to be valid, and the mission has to be active. Get mission active. So that's a Boolean I've made already for the mission system. So it needs to have these three conditions if this is... no, it's not that simple. No, there's something else. Because if this is disabled, it won't do anything. So it means we need to like either so the true the thing we want to go when true is that either this is not true or all of these are true. I think that's what the condition we want here. So when you die, if there's two ways this comes out as true. If this is just only bind health is disabled and it just doesn't care, then it goes true. But if it is true, then if it does care when the mission is active, then it has to check the mission is active. Okay, so that's what that does. We will have to also add this branch to respawn as well. Now, it's messy. I'll get to that in a bit. I just want to see if this actually will do what I want. It should do that. So let's give it a whirl, shall we? Now, the question is, should that Boolean be enabled by default? I'm going to go with no, and I'm only going to set it to true for certain things. So I'm going to Because these metrics get used in more places than the mission. So by default, we don't want that on. BP underscore metric. Let me just search for all metrics. So for the watch, do we want that? I'm not sure about that one. But for the score, we absolutely want that boolean enabled for the score, because that will always be on. So there should be a little thing, yeah, but only bind health when mission active. So we'll turn that on for the score by default. And then for the collectible count, we also want that on. Yes. Now for the watch, because we do use that in a few different places, so we don't always want it. So we'll just for the mission. So we'll save those. Metric component watch. And then for this, we'll then go to the watch for that mission. We'll find the health category, which should be in here somewhere. And then we'll go only bind health when yeah, when that happens. Now, let's give that a try. Okay. Okay, well, we fixed one part of this problem now. You'll notice that the watch, every metric will actually stay disabled until that countdown. So that's actually good. So we did fix one aspect. There's just one more aspect we didn't quite, that isn't, you know what I mean. It's just that the player can still move. But the actual thing, the thing, you know what I mean? That does, oh, what is all this? Oh, boy. What does all this mean? Oh, that's that new branch we added. Okay, what's happening there exactly? Oh, it's, okay, I must have done the invalid check the wrong way. So I think what I have to do... Oh... Because, yeah, not all of them have that, and this is... When you do it this way, I don't know why, but it just doesn't work half the time. And if that new thing that the validator get is not going to work here, because we don't always... Because if there's more conditions than that we have to consider, so we're just gonna... We'll shelve that for the moment. I know why that's happening. There's gonna be some way I can fix that, but we'll have to come back to that. As for the player still moving, that's gonna be an interesting one. But at least the metrics now won't start until after the mission is on. So that's one part of that problem fixed. Now let's look at the mission itself. Now, this looks complicated, but a lot of this is obsolete now, actually, because of the new stuff I'm doing. So a lot of this isn't even plugged in, because this is from the old system when it wasn't all using inheritance. The only thing that's actually relevant, you know what, I'll color code this so that you ignore it, because this is not relevant. This isn't even plugged in. I want to color code that in red, the stuff that... I'm just leaving it in case, just in case, but I plan to get rid of this stuff. The only thing that's actually active right now is these bits underneath. And these are basically events that happen when certain metrics complete themselves. So for this mission, when the countdown is finished, it starts the mission. There's also a state here where we can actually have a collectible limit, so that if you collect all 10 things, it can trigger something. We also have one for if you reach a certain score threshold, it can trigger something. And we have a thing for if you reach all, if the watch reaches past a certain threshold, it'll also trigger something. Now, most of these are disabled because there's a boolean where we can actually turn one of them on, but these come in handy if you want a mission with like a time limit or a collectible limit and things like that. That's where these things come into play. And these are quite simple. Now, I think the issue that's happening is the mission, because what the mission does, this might be a bit deeper. We might have to go a little deeper for this one, because the mission component itself, which has a lot of self-contained logic about missions, it controls a lot of this is the complicated one. This is like the mission system, and the mission does something where when the mission is loaded, it has a boolean where whether we want to disable input or not. And I think that something about that just isn't firing properly, I'd have to imagine. Because what's supposed to happen in this case is when you start a mission, when a mission loads, it will disable the player input. Except when you respawn, that interferes. When you hit respawn, it'll actually overwrite. What am I trying to say? Yeah, okay. So it'll, I'm trying to figure out how to say it. So when you start that countdown, when you start the mission going in, it will disable the player input. But when you respawn, it will enable the player input again. And I think that is conflicting with the mission, because the mission is telling itself to turn the input off, and the respawn is saying to turn the mission back on. So I think that's the source of the conflict here. It might be a bit tricky. How's it going? It's going actually pretty good. Thanks for asking, Logan. Going pretty good, actually. I know we've got more bugs, but we've actually managed to fix a few today, which is pretty good. Now, let me just read, because I haven't looked at this one in a while. I might not get to fixing this one today, because this is all the back end of the mission system, which I haven't touched in a long time. Let me just read it. So when we load mission, so this is the event that happens. Return player pawns. Clear the HUD. Set visibility. Respawn on reset. So it respawns. Here we go. Input state. Load mission input state. Stop movement on load. Oh, so this is where I'm not sure how we solve this. I'm not sure. Stop movement on load mission. Because, yeah, this is being interfered with by the player. So let me look at the health. Maybe that might be the health component. I'm not sure. So when we go respawn, I just want to see what happens when we respawn. Enable. Here we go. Here we go. So enable input. Oh, that's a default function. I don't want to touch that one. So just my intuition. Not sure if this will be a good idea. No, this wouldn't work. But what I was thinking was, if I add something to the health component, and it's like, in this Boolean check here, it goes, oh, check if the mission is loaded. Check if there is a mission, check if the mission is loaded, and check whether it has that input flag or not, and then decide whether to enable input again. Except this health component applies to everything, not just the player. So I wouldn't want that everywhere. Yeah, that's tricky. But this is a good starting point, I guess. Do I have enough time? I'm gonna try something just really quickly. I don't know if it'll work. Do we have a reference to the mission on health? I actually don't know. I don't think the health actually can reference the mission. Except when it has a it has to have a binder on it. So that might be kind of complicated then. Reset. What does this do? Reset on mission load. Well, I don't know what this is, but it doesn't see. Oh, wait, did I already think of this and forgot about it? Oh, okay. There's a variable in here that is never used, and I have no idea what it does, but it looks like I might have thought of this before, but just forgot about it. What does this say? Let me zoom in. It says, reset on mission load. Whether to restore health when mission is loaded. Okay. I think this might be used... Okay, I think this is used somewhere on the mission itself. Let me check. What is the name of the variable? Reset on mission. Let me check if that's here. Reset health. Is that used? Oh, no, it isn't even used here. Okay. Reset on mission. Okay, that variable is just never used. Okay, I don't know what... I feel like that has something to do with my problem, but I've never used it. It's just like an empty variable that does nothing. I don't know. This might be a bit of a... This is kind of complicated because the health is very abundant. It's a very abundant component. You gotta be careful. So I don't know. I think I'll come up with something, but it won't be... Will not be today, I don't think. I think we're out of time. But let me just save everything at the moment, because we at least got kind of somewhere. I'll clean up this after the stream. But at least the components, like that was actually quite easy to get the components to not, oh wait, I have to compile the metric. It's just, yeah, it can't find, for everyone, it can't find the mission, and that's understandable for some of them. But if we restart, let me just like play it out to just see if it still works. So what should happen, I should be able to spam R, and I know I can still move, but at least none of the metrics will activate until after that countdown is done. Then it will let me collect stuff. So at least that works. That's one problem fixed. It's just the movement. And that's more to do with the player than it is the mission system. So yeah, because I haven't looked at that stuff in a while. It's going to take, I have to like let that simmer for a bit. I'll figure it out. Just, it'll come to me. I just, because I haven't looked at that stuff in a while. Yeah, I won't be able to come up with something immediately. But I think I'll close it there, boys, because we actually did pretty all right. I actually was expecting a lot of more things to go wrong. So that is pretty good, actually. Pretty cool. So we fixed like 4 bugs. Usually what happens is we try and fix 1 and cause 5. So we actually did pretty all right. Oh, that's an interesting... Mornings are programming, nights are art. That's actually really cool. I should probably adopt that into my lifestyle, actually, because... Actually, before we go, I have something to just show you guys, just as a little treat. Okay, because I know you haven't heard from me a lot lately. I've been kind of absent. I haven't been streaming as regularly. And some of my Discord members have seen this. I want to show this to you guys because, like, I was really excited. I really enjoyed it. Nothing to do with the game, by the way. So that's why I kind of haven't... I was thinking about tweeting it, but I was like, oh, it's got nothing to do with the game. I won't bother. But seeing as you made the effort to make time out of your day to spend with me while I, you know, try and hopelessly fix my game, I'll treat you to something nice. So you guys know that you've probably seen in the stream that I'm not the best programmer on the planet. I'm not like, that doesn't bother me. I accept that because I do a lot more than programming. I do a lot of things. And I'm fine with being average at programming because for me, it's like the bigger picture stuff. That's kind of where I just do programming because I have to. If I had a choice, I'd delegate it. But I don't have enough money to do that. So I just have to do it myself. However, you guys have seen, there are things that I don't know, like the validate get. I had no clue about, right? I didn't know any of that stuff. So I learn things. I try and learn things. But when people say things like, oh, you should like you should spend like, you know, months learning C++ or whatever, that kind of stuff. Luckily, that argument didn't come up today, but it's something I get a lot. And it's like, oh yeah, you should, if you like did, you know, university or a course or whatever, you'd be so much better at programming. And it's like, that's cool. Yeah, I would be. But for me, it's not about being like the best programmer. It's just being like good enough. Now, this is where the kind of duality comes in. So sure, I might not be the best programmer, but a programmer can't do this. So programming is my favorite discipline. I do it because I have to. But the other night, I just had enough. I was like, this programming, man, I just need a break from it. So I spent an evening just opening Photoshop and just messing around. And this was the result. This was like an hour or 2 of just like therapy to deal with programming. I thought you guys might want to see it because I was actually quite happy with the outcome. I was just messing around with, oh yeah, I've got a few different like color presets I was trying out. So yeah, this nothing to do with Project Feline though. I just I was just sort of having some fun in Photoshop because I really love character design. You can probably tell that's actually what I enjoy doing, but I don't get to do character design that much because I've already designed all the characters in my game. So that's over. So I try and like spend, when I get a bit of spare time, I like to just do a little bit of doodling because this is where my passion is. It's in character design. So, you know, when I do, I've got a few different like little, I don't know if I've got like another version of this somewhere. Yeah, so I've also got like different, again, this was all like in a few hours, just messing around. I know the line art's very sloppy, the colors aren't great. I'm just kind of playing, because this is the stuff that I like comes naturally to me. So considering that, you know, this is like kind of what I'm more into, and that I make myself do programming, I don't think I'm doing that bad, okay? Not doing so terribly. But I thought I'd just show you, you know, just some of the stuff I do in like the spare few hours that I get. Just to mess around, you know, because this kind of comes way more naturally to me than programming does. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of share that because I was excited about it, and I don't get to show people stuff that often. So anyway, thanks so much for coming and hanging out. It looks like Gabby's younger brother. Oh, that's really sweet, actually. That's a cute thought. I can't tell you what it's for. It's not for Project Feline, but I can't tell you what it's for. Okay. I'm just messing around. It's not for anything. It's just having fun. But yeah. Anyway, I have to go. Thanks so much for sticking around, hanging out with me, watching me solve bugs. I don't know if I will stream more or not. I'm kind of like, as you've seen, I'm not really on a strict stream schedule at the moment. I'm just kind of like showing the bits that are not frustrating. So I don't know, maybe because we're on a good pace today, I might come back tomorrow if I have come up with some solution to these bugs. If not, then you know why. It's because I still have to think, and it's going to be really boring if it's just a stream of me sitting there just like thinking. So if I do come up with an actionable plan to solve those problems, I'll be on stream. So hit the bell, smash the bell, demolish the bell, do whatever you have to do to that bell so that it shows up on your screen to get notified when I go live next. And if you want to support what I'm doing, because obviously I tried to get the government to do that and that didn't really work, but if you would like to support what I'm doing, consider checking out my Patreon, because I have all that new merch that I designed that I had a lot of fun with, and I'd love to sort of see more people, like if that kind of design is sort of up your alley, I'd love to sort of give that to someone in exchange for like support, you know, because all that money from Patreon, that's like the devlog fund. So that all that money gets put into hours of editing and everything. So that doesn't really go to the game, but it goes to making videos about it so that it's not all in the dark. And if I was going to find those designs real quick, because I'm not sure if anyone's seen the new design. I have a whole new set of merch for Patreon, brand new designs, and I really like them. I think they're really cool, but I might be a little biased. I just wanted to quickly open those before I forget. I know that's the old design. Where's the new design? Wait. I got it. So here's the new design for Patreon, if you want to check that out, if this interests you, and if you want to support the devlog series. So yeah, can you name a programmer that can design their own merch? Didn't think so. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, consider checking that out if you want to support what I'm doing, because I'm going to need it for the moment. I'm going to need a bit more support for now until I come up with another funding plan. But yeah, just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, I'm going to go now. Thanks so much again for coming. Thanks for your support and your encouragement. Very nice of you all. And I will see you when I see you next time on the next stream, whenever that may be. See you later, guys.